Hey everyone, I'm your host, Robbie Strazynski, and thanks so much for joining us on episode number 24 of CardsChat, the friendliest poker podcast in town. On this episode, we have the pleasure of welcoming Ellie Elezra. Ellie is a four-time World Series of Poker bracelet winner and has claimed a World Poker Tour title, but despite his millions in tournament winnings, he's far better known for being a high-stakes cash game player and TV poker personality over the last 3+ decades. Away from the felt, Ellie has led a legendary life growing up in Israel and serving in the IDF's Golani Brigade, and has had incredible adventures on fishing boats and driving taxis in Alaska before moving to Las Vegas. A businessman, a family man, and just plain one of the nicest men in the world, I'm honored and proud to call Ellie my friend. Ellie, welcome to the CardsChat podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thanks for CardChat choosing me.
Good. It's good to see you again. Well, Ellie, you're coming to us from your home in Las Vegas. I know you haven't really left your area so much over the last year. You're being very cautious with the pandemic. I imagine that the Bellagio and Aria, that they're missing you as much as you're missing their poker rooms. When do you think, more or less, you'll be ready to finally return to the felt?
Okay, well, first of all, you're correct. The end of February last year, 2020, I would say the beginning of March, probably the most would be 5th of March was the last time I played Bellagio. And even then, I remember that my kids got mad at me and they said, no, you should be, because I didn't really pay too much attention for it at the beginning. But it's been almost a year now that I haven't been in any of those places and I haven't played. And 6 months into the pandemic, I remember a few people asked me, even the floor people from Aria and from Bellagio asked me to go and there's games and some people come back. And I said, by the time I'm going to get vaccinated, I will be back. And well, I got good news. I got vaccinated 10 days ago.
Wonderful.
With Pfizer, and I will be getting my second shot on the 17th on this month. And I believe a week to 10 days later, I will be back on the field.
All right, players beware, the shark is coming. Very nice. Very good. Well, you did used to play 5 or 6 times a week. I don't think you can manage an entire year, Ellie, without playing. So have you been playing online during this time?
Yes, I did. I didn't play any of those WSOP or the GG. I just played some kind of private mixed game that we have. And it's called Kings. And we had, because it's a mixed games, I loved it. And it's not as much. You're right. I used to play during the World Series of Poker, at least the 3 months, I would say, from May to the summer, end of summer, maybe 7 days a week.
Oh, wow.
So, and the rest of the year I play 5 to 6 days. It's hard. For me, I love watching people. I love looking in their eyes. And I love the only interaction of sitting with people and doing everything with players in front of you. Playing online, it's completely different. Of course, from the last time I done it was the full tilt until Black Friday. And I did play on full tilt quite a bit, but for me, it was a new one. And I like the idea because our side, the one that we play, you have to play with people you know. So I'm playing under Ellie Elezra, and Gus playing under Gus Hanson, and Freddie D playing under Freddie. Every one of us playing under his own name, and that's why I loved it. It's like I'm sitting in Bellagio. I'm sitting, playing in any place that we just play with the players, and it's huge. Because when I play with the way that we play in old full tilt and stuff, other than the pros, none of us knew who you're playing with, and I don't like it.
Right.
I kind of like to feel the player that I'm playing with.
Right.
Of course, I'm an old school player, and I'm a gut feeling player, and it's very hard for me to play pot limit on my, even though we're playing at a cup or the no limit, and to try to feel what the other side, can I bluff him out of the pair? Can I do this? So overall, without this online mixed game for me, it would be tough Corona time.
Sure.
I think that's past my time. forgot to tell you, I finished Netflix basically. So, so that's helped a lot. But yeah, I mean, I'm so excited about going back. I heard they're playing a couple mixed game that I really like with the crazy Mike, and with this he took over basically, and we have few good players to play with JRB and stuff. So I'm excited to do it in about 2-3 weeks.
Excellent. That's wonderful. I mean, everyone knows that when you play online, the action is much faster than when it's in person. You get many more hands per hour. Has that affected your game at all? The speed of the play?
No, I don't think so. Matter of fact, I'm playing two screens. So
Hmm.
the number one is like what I used to suggest beginning a poker player, patient.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a patient also online, you're gonna lose. So it's easy to play. I'm old, so I cannot play like some of them playing 5, 6 screen, but I'm playing two screens. And when you play two screens, you're patient enough to wait for the right hand and to do the right things. And overall, I'm winner during this pandemic, and that's also good to get a little income to, to make your livelihood.
For sure. Well, you said you've been playing online. You said you finished Netflix. How else are you keeping busy over this last year?
I'm basically walk at least 5 days a week, sometimes 6. 3 of them with my wife and the other 3 with my kids. I do 3-4 miles a day,
Wow.
and that's about an hour walk, a little over an hour. I mean, because I haven't go to Lifetime to my gym. I used to go 3 or 4 times a week, and I haven't done that. And when you are 60 years old, you want to keep being in shape. If not, your brain won't functioning. And I need to brain to function because I want to play poker.
Right. It all goes together. It all goes together.
So basically, this is the only thing I've done. I mean, we were all day here, all family, so a little sport, a little poker, a lot of watching TV, but nothing else.
Gotcha. Wow. And I did have a big move that kept you busy, right?
Oh yes. So we moved in November last year. We moved from our old house, which was very big, and we moved to smaller house, right, not far from where we live. And yeah, that's kept us busy. But wifey do everything.
Right.
Everything on the moving. I basically try to help here and there, but she's the one that chooses everything, the color, everything in the house.
Excellent. Happy wife is a happy life. Very good. Ellie, one of the things I know I've been keeping very busy, it's been keeping me entertained, has been the new seasons of Poker After Dark and High Stakes Poker. Are you just sitting back and you're just kind of enjoying it like entertainment, or when you watch it, is it really like studying and homework and taking notes on these guys because you're going to face them at some point?
Okay. Let me tell the audience first too, I was invited to those shows, especially to the high stakes, because Maury's ideas was, I want to get the old school. I want to get the Doyle Bronson, the semi-final, the Ellie Elezra, Daniel Nagano. It's so important for the shape of the show to show this show is the ultimate. And of course, I've been known because the high stakes poker, but because the Corona, I said no, and I haven't watched it. By the way, I like to usually save all those shows and watch them in 2-3 days, everything. So I heard that we coming into, I believe, like almost the end of it. I don't know. Every week you have one, so right. I have enough to watch, and I'm probably going to start watching this week. And yes, let me answer yes to what you asked me. Before, during the 7th season, I played 6 seasons of them in high stakes poker.
Right.
I did watch and make a lot of notes, and basically it was homework for me because, I mean, if you remember, we play for tens of thousands of dollars, and
that's
sometimes more. Sometimes more, and it was important for me to see the move of the Semi Faha or Daniel Negreanu, or if it was Gus or Phil Ivey, or mostly Semi Faha. I remember watching, Tom Duan. Tom Duan make me talk to myself. I mean, during the show and after the show, I always wanted to know what he had. And he's so talented, he's just amazingly good. And I remember that me and Doyle was sitting in a breaks and we were talking about him. And we were wondering what the heck we don't, I mean, did he discover a new poker? What is he doing? And that's the reason I've been watching the runs, and I try to see if I can pick up some stuff on him. So I can tell you I picked some stuff on Sammy Faha, but I couldn't do anything with the Tom, with his stare, he's just too good. And I guess some of the rumor he was doing very well in this Ice Stakes poker, so I will watch some of those. It's part of the business, basically. I know in the near future or late future, I will watch it. Nice. I mean, I will play him. So if I'm going to play him, it's good to know, good to run some hands in your heads and to try to see if you get the same situation in a game that you'll be in.
Sure. And also,
and by the way, I was invited. Maury told me we're going to film Ice Stakes for the next season, probably in the next couple of months, maybe May, maybe June. And the biggest things I can tell everybody, some of that's gonna be the old school. There'll be all of us old school, and I'm talking the people that play the sixth season will play, and we let Gabe Kaplan laugh at our faces how old we got. We're talking about 20 years passed by, so Gabe will be able to make some jokes on our looks.
Oh, it's good stuff. And I'll tell you, as someone who's watched season 8, it's certainly, not just, it hasn't been disappointing, it's certainly lived up to and even exceeded expectations. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy it when you watch those episodes. Tom Dwan definitely plays a big role. I won't reveal too much, but that's how you can find that on Poker Go, everyone. It's good stuff. Well, Ellie, talking about studying and taking notes, over the last few years, so many poker players, they've started studying, they get in the lab and they do so much, they put so much time and effort to mastering No Limit Hold'em. And it's so many people are saying, well, the game is just becoming solved almost. And to me, someone who enjoys, mixed games, not just Hold'em, all of that time and effort, it seems a lot harder than just, let's do something else. Let's pivot. Let's give mixed games a try. And those certainly haven't been solved. So a few people are playing PLO, Pot Limit Omaha, but of course you are a major mixed games aficionado and lover. You're always the mixed games as Ellie. You won your bracelets in mixed games. Why do you think that mixed games haven't become more popular? Maybe it's just, it's too early. It's just a matter of time till the mixed game boom.
Well, I have two answers for that. First of all, we let's concentrate on the No Limit. I believe that only in the last 5 years, I heard, I'm like Doyle, I'm old school, I heard the word solve, the game being solved. And I remember having conversation with Doyle about it. And yes, now when I saw the Doug and Daniel match, and I'm an admirer of Daniel. I was listening to some of Daniel, blog that he have, and I was following him and all the stuff that he do for poker. And Daniel, for me, is one of the best ambassadors out there. And to see that he got embarrassed, or call it embarrassed, or lose whatever to Doug, and to see so many people betting on Doug, in a way, it looks like, why? I mean, Daniel is an old school. Daniel wrote a book. Daniel been studying, and he teach so many people. And I guess it's stuff that I don't know. And if you ask me tomorrow, I will be back. I'm playing No Limit, but I'm playing it on my mixed game. It's one of 10 games, or on my if we do one game only, it'll be only on the shows. I'm playing Poker After Dark also very soon, and Ice Stakes Poker. Once in a while, like what I wrote on my book, that if somebody walked to Bobby's room and he will come and said, "Ooh, I recognize you guys. I want to play the game you play." Then we get rid of and I'll play No Limit only if it's the right game and it's the right player. But other than that, I will keep playing the tournament for sure. Mostly the World Series of Poker, so I can play there some of the small one, but mostly the 10K event. And with this, I usually approach it by saying I'm not a big dog. I'm going in because I know I can win it. But to play one game only, or to play heads up the way Daniel play, or to do, I will not do it because I just don't want to play a game that I know that my chances is 20, 30% versus my opponent.
Sure.
And those people that solve it is, I can't even explain it. I mean, obviously I try to understand the GTO and I try to understand everything else, but no, I mean, the second part of your question, the mixed games, I remember Barry Greenstein wrote on his book and then on every TV, and he used to say, if you really want to develop yourself as a player, you play the no limit game, but then you come and show that you are like the Phil Ivey and Daniel, and you know how to play the mixed game. And he used to be one of the original ambassador for mixed games. Me and you love the mixed games, not only because, first of all, we don't sit with the glasses and with the hoodie. We're having fun. I'm watching you all the time with all your picture you put on Twitter with your friends. And it doesn't matter if you play the shekel, 2 shekel, or the $300, $600 or 2 and 4,000. Mixed game definitely got a lot more depth into it, a lot more in the game, a lot of missing bets or not missing bets. I mean, Doyle Bronson, in the biggest tweets that he gets, and people that keep challenging him, he said, guys, put 4 Raz in a game, all the Raz game, and I'll play anybody in the world for any month he wants. Right. And why? Because I know how Doyle play Raz. I play Raz, probably not as good. And I'm saying certain games, you cannot say that your opponent is so much better than you. But in some of the mixed games, I definitely can tell you that they wrote a lot of books about them. They have some stuff. But if you don't master it from inside, it's very, very hard to get better on it. And not only that I love it, it gives me the adrenaline, and I mean, I really looking forward from game to game. I mean, the idea of going out there and you can have a drink and you can even sit down and eat and you can, everything else. I mean, look what's happening in the World Series of Poker. World Series of Poker used to be 30 event, 25 event. I remember the old show. Going up 50, 60, and last year, I don't even know how much was it, 70, 80?
80,
more?
I think 80, 89, yeah. 85, yeah.
And I would say from probably 40% of it would be no limit, and the rest of it would be, it's the mixed games. And sometimes when we say mix, of course, we get the old school style that I love, and we get the old variation of the no limit deuce and deuce to 7. And those are the games that I don't care who do I sit with, excuse me, I believe I can beat him. And I know you too. And I know you play a couple of the World Series and you will play in the future. And it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. I mean, so yes, I would still be, and for the future, I'll try to teach people how to play mix.
Good stuff. I like that answer. Speaks to me. Well, Ellie, you mentioned the book, and I guess it's time to mention the book. You know, here it is. Everyone was watching. It's Ellie's autobiography. It's called Pulling the Trigger. It was released in January 2019. I actually translated it from the original Hebrew book into English, so I know Ellie and his life story very well. Ellie, of course, the book talks about your early days growing up in Israel. You live in Jerusalem until you finished your army service in your early 20s. And of course, you've been in the United States for well over 30 years now. How often do you still think about Israel and come back to visit?
Well, you know, they said when you start dreaming in English, not in Hebrew, you become, so I start dreaming in English, I think, because when I left Israel, I was 22. And that was after serving 4 years in the Israeli army, the IDF. I still consider myself, I have a double citizenship. I still consider myself, you know, when they interview me a few times, so I said Ellie Elezra, Jerusalem, Israel, but I'm more Vegas guy now. And I love Vegas, and I'm not like a lot of those Jewish people saying I'm going to be buried in the Holy Land. No, I'm going to be buried right here in Vegas. I established a wonderful family with 5 kids and a wife in Vegas. And I going often when before the pandemic, at least once a year I went to Israel. Still a lot of friends and family over there. But overall, I believe that my roots being Israeli helped me to become who I am now. And I wouldn't change anything of my life the way that it's working right now. I would keep it the same way.
Very nice. I mean, is there something you miss though? Like you ever would sort of wish, oh, I wish I could have the hummus from Abu Ghosh or something like that?
Well, I do it when I go there, maybe sometime once every 2 years.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, when I go there, I never eat Italian food in Israel. I go there and I always, of course, taking advantage of it. My mom live in Vegas now, so she cook me our food. But yeah, for all this falafel and all those good stuff, I always miss in Israel. And of course, you know, the roots staying your roots. So you're going back to your neighborhood, and it's also small compared to where we're living right now.
Right.
And I mean, my life took turn after, and I mentioned it in the book. Born in a small neighborhood in Israel and growing up and getting to the army, and then after that, Alaska, everything changed the moment I left Israel, big time. And one thing led to another, and I ended up over here, and it's beautiful.
Right. So you mentioned Alaska. That is actually my next question. And you got to Alaska after the army. You had your adventure, and you weren't just vacationing and walking on glaciers. You were working really, really hard. Pursuing the American dream. You were working at a cannery, and then as a taxi driver. And you weren't in like Anchorage or Juneau. You weren't in a big city. You were like out in the middle of nowhere in a town called Kotzebue. How long did you live there, and what was your day-to-day life like back then?
As I said, in 1983, there was the Lebanon War, and I was an officer in Israel, in the Golani. And I remember that when we did, in Golani, one of our officers he released, and then he came to visit us, and he said, oh, I went to work in Alaska, and I made $8,000 a month in a cannery. And I remember this conversation. And then during the Lebanon War, the first Lebanon War, I got injured in the army. And that gave me enough time to think. And I said, by the time my leg will be good, I'm going to be released. I'll go work, make some money, and come back to Israel. Right. Maybe come back to the army. But one thing led to another, and I got there in the wrong time. The cannery wasn't open yet because everything was frozen. So I find another place, which you mentioned. I study English as a second language in Anchorage. And then over there, I met someone that introduced me to Kotzebue. He showed me some slides, and I loved it. And not only that, Kotzebue was only 3,000 people, mostly native. There was also a lot of people that a lot of nature over there. The nature, and I love the idea of nature. I saw they hunting whales and caribou and moose. So it was very easy for me. He introduced me to the guy. I went over there, and okay, sorry. I went over there. That's my mom walking in.
It's okay.
Tell him to keep quiet.
It's okay.
So I went over there, and it was exactly what I thought. It was hunting, and then I started driving taxi in a small town named Kotzebue. And because I remember numbers, I remember as a driver, if you tell me name, I tell you his house number. If you tell me his house number, I tell you his name. Wow. It was so fast for me, and I made more money than what I thought I can. And then, so overall, I live in Alaska for about 4 years. And I go in between. I went to some Far East. I actually put a backpack on me, and I went to the Far East, and I travel, and I enjoy myself for about a year, and then I came back to Kotzebue instead of going back to Israel. But yeah, Kotzebue, Alaska was also, if people read my book over there, a couple of the taxi drivers told me that they have a weekend poker session, So I went to one of those and I basically fell in love because the very first time I ever got introduced to stud, to Omaha, to the rest of the game was right there. I remember one of the native teach me, said, oh, poker is not only no limit. You
Right.
can they put limit Omaha and stuff. And after the first, second time that we used to play only 6 to 8 hours, the session after that becomes so long. We played 2 days, a day and a half, and 3 days. And I made money. All of a sudden, I realized, wow, there's something I'm doing good. So, yeah, that was the beginning of the mixed game in Alaska.
I love how you say we played sessions only 6 to 8 hours long. That's, that's wonderful. Have
Yeah.
you been back to Alaska to visit, like on a cruise or something, since you left?
Yes, I did. I went back to the Kotzebue. I went there a couple of times, and then I also did a cruise, Alaska cruise.
Nice.
But that was only the beginning, I would say, right in the 80s, maybe beginning of 90s. Since then, no. I mean, I've been here all the time, and there's right now I don't look. There's no reason for me right now to look other than traveling and enjoying myself.
Nice. Well, maybe someday. I'd like to go to
Well,
Alaska.
you know, there's a lot of places in the world you need to explore.
Yes.
So yeah.
Exactly. So Ellie, we said in the introduction, of course, you've done tremendous work in tournaments. You're mostly known as a cash game player. And yes, as you said, usually during the summer months of the year, you're very busy. Tournaments at the WSOP. You've won 4 bracelets. And I think this is always the most interesting part. 3 of those 4 bracelets came in your 50s, after you turned 50 years old. And I did a little research. Only 3 players have won more bracelets than you after turning 50 years old. It's Doyle, Johnny Moss, and Barry Johnston. Actually, all of them won 4 or more after they turned 50.
This is you research it, and I didn't know about it until you told me I think when I won my last stud bracelet, you told me that. And yes, I mean, I'm very proud to be with this company.
Yeah.
Johnny Chen, Doyle, this is legend for me,
Yep.
Wow, so that's good. And
well, very few people can even say that they've won 4. But again, to say that you've won 3 after the age of 50, I think that's tremendous. And as you mentioned, you're 60 years old now. You just turned 60. I know that there's plenty of people watching or listening to the CardsChat podcast here who are also 50 years or older. They're playing in the WSOP Seniors event. How do you manage so successfully to compete with the younger players? What is the key? You say only 6 to 8 hour sessions. What is the key to maintaining that sort of stamina and sitting for so many hours at the tables?
It's an amazing question. I did feel it. I mean, sometimes during my when I was playing very high in Bobby's room, I remember looking and my body. I lost weight lately, I lost a lot of weight because I started doing some exercise. But back then, I used to eat the lobster and the steak after midnight, and I used to do everything a poker player not supposed to do, basically never take care about myself. And I start feeling it. I mean, I remember looking at Gus Hanson and Phil Ivey. They were in top shape. I mean, I remember Phil Ivey's own personal trainer, and Daniel was in top shape. And I said to myself, there's no reason for me after 7-8 hours to don't play my, A game the way Chip used to say. Mm-hmm. And I did not. I used to lose money because my body didn't give it to me. And so the very first things I did is try to not eat late in a table. So because they always told you that in tournament too, when you have the dinner break after the main event, don't eat too heavy because it's going to affect your game. And it does. If somebody told me it's not, it's really bullshit. Excuse me. It does. It affects your game because you're full, you're tired, and you don't think correctly. Keeping up with all those young kids is because I'm playing my mixed games. And I think that I have advantage of them. Play with me one game, the PLO and stuff, they'll be better. Play with me those 8 games, I will have my edge on either deuce to seven or no limit this or whatever. I'll have, and if even you have the 5% edge, even the guy miss a bet on the river when he made the second pair, even the guy, those are huge. People don't understand because this 5% edge in each game add up to be so much and add up the end of the week, the end of the month, the end of the year for you to be a winner and not loser.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what I need. That's what I need to do. Keep my body, functioning, keep doing sport, and then keep studying. I love watching the shows. To tell you that I'm a big reader, probably not. I'm not a big reader on books. I wrote the very first book I read was a Barry Greenstein book because it was less poker and more than. And then I read Lyle book, and then I read maybe one of Sklansky book. But then Doyle, in one of his sessions, come and hand me his famous book.
Super System, right.
Super System. And I took it and I didn't look at it. I said, thank you, Doyle. When I get home, I see what you wrote over there. He said to my best friend, Ellie Elezra, I don't think you should read this book. It might ruin your game. So I remember that's the first time he basically let me know I'm doing some stuff a little different than other people. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference that those people that listening need to understand. In solving with the GTO, the no limit and the no limit hold'em is way different than the mixed games. Mm-hmm. Because the no limit hold'em, yes, if you read more and you study more and you do whatever the dark pop people do, yes, you're definitely going to be better. In our game, if you're going to watch a lot, watch people trying to read faces, I think you'll be able to do good. In our games.
Even after age 50, that's good stuff. And of course, take care of your body. It's important. Well, one of the things that being a successful professional poker player allows you to do is travel the world. And of course, play in all these prestigious poker tournaments all over the world. What are some of your favorite places that you've visited? And maybe you can tell us why.
Okay, the best place, the most amazing things that I tell people, what poker did to me in my life was basically to see the world. Mm. It's amazing. After I won the 2004, the Mirage Poker Showdown, I remember I have so many people contact me from casinos all over Europe. And if it's Aruba, and if it's in Australia, and I was traveling. Mm-hmm. Basically, after you win WPT, you're thinking World Poker Tour, oh, I can do it again. You think that you can be basically untouchable. But it was fun. So I think that if I have to guess 3, 4 years, 5 years after that, I was traveling a lot, playing a lot of tournaments. Until I realized, what do I do? If I get knocked out, and yes, you get knocked out a lot of time in the first day, then what do you do all those other days that you need to wait or whatever? And none of all those places had the cash game for me to stay and move around. Right. So, in the Bahamas, you do have always enough people and enough cash game. But I would say 70, 80% of the places, if it's Europe or whatever, no, in Australia, in Melbourne, we didn't have cash game. So slowly, I gave up on tournament and I narrowed it down to only Las Vegas, maybe Los Angeles tournament. And favorite place by far was Melbourne, Australia. Mm. Over there, it was just, I love the people. I love the Australian people. We have the tennis matches going together, the Australian Open. So we saw some of our favorite players. And we went every poker tournament. I saw at least 3 or 4 matches before the final. Usually we were watching. And on top of it, we have cash game. So, some of the sick people like me used to finish the session by 8 or 10 o'clock at Melbourne and then jump into a cash game because what else you have to do? Go sleep,
Right.
But yeah, I've done it with full tilt, I think 2 years in a row, and I just love the people. I'll definitely go back. And of course, we went to see kangaroos and penguins and everything else. And we went from New Zealand from there. And that's, in my memory, it's one of the best places to play poker.
Well, sounds like a lot of fun. I hope I get to go and do that someday. Maybe not center court during the finals of the Australian Open, but that sounds good. Just to be there sounds like a lot of fun. Well, during the 80s and 90s, one of the things that made your reputation as a poker legend or helped do that was that you sat with fellow legends, with Doyle Brunson and with the late Chip Reese, two of your very good friends, and you played with them three-handed, and you didn't just play with them, Ellie, you won, and that's a gigantic thing. And I know you've long said that you enjoy and you feel that you're better and even have a little bit of an advantage playing short-handed games than full ring games. Why is that?
I mean, it's amazing. I really, until today, you put me in a full game, I would tell you that I definitely adjust myself and I'm better in a full game, but I don't know, I just love the 3- and 4-handed. And yes, during the Chip and Doyle era, I learned so much by watching those two legends. Chip was just one level above everybody. And yes, I mean, I learned all my games there. And for some reason, I knew how to bring my aggression into the short-handed game. And I made a lot of money back then. Maybe that's what messed up my head, because after that, I figured, if I won with Chip and Doyle, I'll do good. And then every time we played a full game, and then I play with Daniel and Phil Ivey and Gus and Antonio and them, I probably did not do the adjustment correctly. You have to adjust yourself. When you play short-handed, you play way more hands than you play full game. And I didn't. So maybe the 7-8 suited looks so good when you play the full game also versus a short-handed. And he came to hunt me back, because I have a period, and I will tell your audience and I'll tell everybody, it's not always sweet.
Yeah.
You don't win all the time.
Yeah.
After this period of Chip and Doyle, me winning, I came crashing, and I lost millions of dollars on my 2 and 4 and 3 and 6,000. And basically, I couldn't even put myself back together. It took me a long time. And I think that if I will always say to poker player, if poker player don't get broke at least 10, 20 times, you have no clue what is to really enjoy, because it's not always beautiful in winning. That's the reason I just said at the beginning of the show, you counting the money at the end of the month, sometimes the end of the year. That's the most important. But you'll have your days. It doesn't matter how good you come, how good you play. Your aces will be beat, and your 4-card perfect Omar will be beat. But you'll have to take it. And those days, one of my biggest quality, I can come home and my wife wouldn't know if I win or lose that day. Because for me, I took it as a business now,
right?
Which is a business, and that's it. I'm not really. I don't want everybody to know how do I do in a game, So yeah, Chip and Doyle teach me so much, and short-handed still to this day is my favorite.
Interesting. Well, I'm curious. I got to hear. I've heard so many, but I'm sure there's something there for another Chip and Doyle story. Besides playing with them in Las Vegas for all of those, those legendary sessions, you also hit the road with them, and you played poker with them in other locations too. Not the locations, but maybe you have a fun story of what it was like to travel with them on the road to play poker.
Well, first of all, Chip and Doyle are very professional. They took me from the beginning as a business. And I remember telling the people, they realized this is a guy that fell in love with poker. He's a businessman, and he definitely can be good addition for us. Even to today, some of those people that run private game, I don't know if you do that, but they call you and say, I got this and this guy in the game. You better come. He's a fish. He's a, in Israel, you say he's a keves, sheep. But I was definitely the drawing back then. I think after about 2 years, we moved together from the Mirage to Bellagio. And in Bellagio, immediately I start playing the 1 and 2000 with them. But we become friends. So they invite me for those Christmas party after that. And then we went to a couple of the shows together. And then I remember the very first tournament, I think I went with them to Foxwood.
Mhm.
I went with Chip and Doyle to Foxwood, and over there we play our own game. They always give us there, and then we play the tournament,
Mhm.
and then we see some new faces when we get there. But I start really learning who's those people in front of me. They have their name amazing. Everybody, every place we get, you know, they will come and they try signature and pictures and everything. And yeah, so we drive to Foxwood, we stay together, we eat together. I can tell you that one of the stories that I have about Doyle in Foxwood, that's the very first time I see that, was some nice, I would say, old lady came and asked Doyle for a signature and a photo, and Doyle was losing. And Chip kicked me under the table, and Doyle turned around and said, I don't want to give any picture, and he let her go. And I mean, in my opinion, it's kind of hurt me because those days, this is my sport. My sport is poker, and I'm watching. I mean, Phil Ivey probably less, but Gus Hanson and Daniel Lagano, those people are the best ambassador. I mean, the late Saxton, everybody that come, they take the picture, they explain you, they talk to you, and yes, I do the same thing. I don't care how bad I'll give the picture. I want more people to play in poker because there's a lot more. Our field need to be developed a lot more. Another one is we went to Tunica.
Mm.
So now that's the first time I fly private.
Oh,
Chief
nice.
got a private plane and I fly. And that was in my top when I was playing for 1,000. And so we were me and Doyle and Lyle and Chip and I think Jason Chow. We fly private, everything beautiful. We get to our game. The tournament is only in like 2 days.
Mm.
So we start our game, and I took my first biggest loss over there. I was losing, I think, 500,000. And now I play so long and I'm tired. So Chip said, oh, okay, so what we're doing? And I didn't know how to even get up from the table. So tomorrow, we already play like 16 hours. So he said, tomorrow morning, the tournament at noon.
Wow.
And then we were like 2 a.m. I said, I'm not playing tournament. I need to win it to break even. But I mean, those guys, I learned about them so much when I flew with Chip by myself to Reno to play a tournament. And I mean, I knew about Chip's kids and Doyle kids and everybody, their life, all what Doyle went through his life on his health. And yeah, I mean, at the beginning, I was part of business, but in the end, we become friends. And me and Chip, I mean, Doyle's friends to this day and still talking about Chip when we're talking in our conversation.
I love it. That's beautiful. I love, and I also have this with my home game buddies as well. Not for the same stakes, but when you just sit at the table for so many years, so many sessions with the same people, they really do become your friends. And I'm sure that's something that resonates with our audience as well.
Well, you even saw that in the last Hall of Fame nomination. Doyle wrote something very nice on the Twitter. I know you didn't vote for me yourself, but I know I know you'd vote for Moneymaker, which is deserve to be there. But I love the tweet from Doyle when he wrote, I'm not going to tell you who I'm voting for Hall of Fame, but he was born in Israel.
Right.
So
right.
After that, I remember texting him and calling him and said, thank you, Doyle. That's very nice for me.
For sure. And I did not have a vote this year, by the way. Only Hall of Famers had a vote this year, but last time I was eligible, I did split it. You were the beneficiary along with Chris of some of my votes. I've got 2 more questions of my own, Ellie, and then we move to the other segment of the show where we take questions from the CardsChat forum community members. So just to wrap up my own questions here, I'm actually pretty curious. I was like, oh, that's a good question because I don't actually know the answer here. Ellie, you've been living in Vegas, so you've planted roots there. That's your life. Besides having poker available to you 24/7, what else do you love the most about living in Las Vegas?
Wow. First of all, living in Vegas is almost like Jerusalem for Christian people. Oh, you want, before you die, you want to go to Jerusalem one day. And I know some Muslim too, and I know. So Vegas is the mecca of the gambling world. And anyone that consider himself a person with money or wanted traveling, and not necessarily money, because Vegas become a family-oriented business. So now you have so many people that you meet throughout your life coming to Vegas. So of course we have the best shows in the world, we have the best chefs in the world, we have the best restaurant in the world. And if you go and you read about it, you can eat every day, excuse me, every day of the year in a different gourmet restaurant and don't eat in the same restaurant once.
Right.
So that's enough to explain you. I love eating, and I love meeting people, and I love being with people. So I'm still very nice, hostess. If somebody come and visit, I like to go eat with them and go. And more than that, in the last 5 years, I have some friends from the Sayeret Golani that I was with. They came and visit me in Vegas, and I think we have some program on that on Israeli TV when they came and meet me on King David over there. So they came and visit me, and we basically took 3 days camping, and we went to Zion National Park, and we went to Bryce National Park. They go to Grand Canyon, and so there's some stuff around us from Death Valley for Hoover Dam and stuff. And yes, I like to do some walking with them. Why? I don't think that, Vegas can fill your day beautiful. And after I do my yearly trip, if I go to Greece when I get to Israel, or if I go to whatever, that's pretty much full time when you know that I'm sick and I'm playing so much poker anyway. So I need to sleep sometime.
Of course. As you told me once, Robbie, you sleep when you get on the plane, right? That's what you let.
Yeah, for you, absolutely. People come to Vegas, they have to do it, yes.
My last question for you, Ellie, is besides play poker, what is one thing that you just can't wait to finally do again once you get out there after you've gotten your full immunization from the vaccine?
Go out there, hug my mom, hug my dad, and be able to, I'm a hugging person. I like to hug people, I like to kiss people, I like to sit in dinner together. I like to be able to do some stuff, not necessarily with a mask all the time. I love to go travel again, I mean, cruise probably will be out of the question for a while, now everybody gets good, but I love it. When you are non-stop in in other person's life and being in a cruise, and there's so many places in the world I haven't been. Yes, I like to do a lot of those hiking and stuff like that, definitely.
Beautiful. Well, I hope that that time comes very quickly, not just for you, but for all of us. Well, now it's time for the second segment of the show. This is where we turn to you, everyone who's listening and watching our Cards Chat community, to see what questions that you wanted to ask our guests. And again, we do have a dedicated thread on the Cards Chat forums for this, where we announce, oh, we've got this guest coming up. What questions would you like? And thankfully, we always have some wonderful forum members who submit some great questions. So we've got quite a few here. We'll try to get through as many as we can. Our first questions come from Acid Burn FX. Thank you very much for submitting these. What causes you stress in your life,
Ellie? Wow. Poker definitely causes you stress.
Really?
Yeah, so, I mean, when you play so many hours in the World Series of Poker, and you remember I told you that I go at starting the tournament at 10, get knocked out of the first one and start the second one at 5. Mm-hmm. Play until 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. make second day. Usually I make second day on my job. Go to REA and play cash game until 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. Wake up and need to start the whole thing again and do it for like 2 months straight. If somebody tell you it's not putting stress on your body, on your mind, you're lying. But you need to know how to adjust yourself. So yeah, that's stress. And of course, if something, your family member or somebody around you don't feel well or don't succeed in something, or your kids that in college now, those are definitely stress, and those are the most important in life. That's coming before poker and before anything else.
Of course. Second question from Acid Burn FX. If there's something that you couldn't fail at and fear was not a factor, what would you do?
Wow. Jump from planes again?
Oh, because you used to do that.
I did, yeah.
And you're afraid to do that now?
Yeah, I got too many family members depending on me. But my youngest brother does it. My youngest brother is still jumping from plane. That's one of his hobby.
Wow.
But the stuff that I fear, I mean, I don't know if there's so many things on my list that I fear those days. My wife. But
I think that's fine. We'll go with jumping out of the plane. That's fine. Here's our next forum member who submitted questions, Frazzle 1991. Thank you. Ellie, you already mentioned that you tend to make day 2 of the tournaments. So Frazzle 1991 asks, what causes you not to make it in the money if you don't make it in the money? Obviously, besides just variance, what's something that could be a pitfall for you?
Well, I guess Frazzle is 31 years old because he's 1991. So, people have to understand, once you get close, you make the second day. Usually in the second day, if I'm not mistaken, most of the average is about the dinner break on the second day, you make the money on most of my event. And probably the main event will be the third day.
Right.
But a lot of people approaching it differently, and I approach it completely different than others. I know some people said, yeah, but you finally make it, so you have to cash. I don't want to take the $2,500 or $2,600 or $1,800. And the way that World Series poker stretch at those days, and they pay the 10% and all this, it's just almost insulting to be in the money and to get in the money to get your money back, basically.
Right.
They give you your money back for an additional 50% of what you invested. So I actually take advantage. I learned this from Daniel. I learned it from the great Phil Ivey. When they get close to the bubble, they play the different game. So I don't play to survive. I just play if I can see situation, if it's no limit or anything else, or start. When I see people scared, and yes, there's people play scared money. This is the biggest things I can tell the audience. Do not go with your last bankroll. Do not play scared money, because once you do that, your mind is it's a different mindset. So getting to the second day, let's say 50 out of the money, I'm playing completely different. I'm more aggressive, and I'm not worried about getting knocked out. Yes, I did get knocked out because this approach, but if I didn't, I built enough bankroll to make it way deep and to make good price pool.
Exactly. And you also alluded to, you didn't know this is a second question, but it says, what is one of your best early tournament strategies? And I think you kind of already gave one. Don't play with your last few pennies from your bankroll. Very good. We've got one here from Red Gnome. Thank you very much, Red Gnome, for submitting this question. You've mentioned his name a couple times during the show, Ellie. How and when did you first get acquainted with Barry Greenstein?
Barry is, I would say it before, the Robin Hood. Those days, Robin Hood is, but he's definitely the Robin Hood. He's an amazing person. Very, very, very intellectual. When I met him the very first time, he was in a game, and him and Phil Ivey were very close friends already, And matter of fact, Barry came and introduced himself, and we were playing some games together. At the beginning, it was like 8-16 and 1 in 2000. And then every time after that, I think we played the Poker Superstars together when Todd Bronson played and everybody else. And I kind of follow, and I kind of took Barry every time on the side during the Poker Superstar sometimes, and I asked him a question because I knew that Barry got so much experience. And to these days, I love Barry, even though he's not playing in a high limit the way that he's hoping to. Some of us don't miss it so much, like I used to play the 4 and 8,000, and I play now 2 and 400 and 4 and 8. It's not the end of the world. You know why? And Barry, even the first one to tell you, When you play the high competition, you get usually the very best player in the world. When you play lower game, adventure against them in a game. So yeah, he was one of the guys that to this day that it's very easy to play and love to call him as a friend, you know.
Lovely, wonderful. We've got two more people who submitted questions for you, Ellie. One is Crystals. Thank you very much, Crystals. A few questions here, and I don't know if we can do all of them, but she says, 2 of your WSOP bracelets were in 7-card stud. Given how much this has dropped off in popularity, do you ever see this variant, 7-card stud, dying off?
Oh, amazing question. As long that I'm playing and I'm playing the mix game, this game gonna be in my mix. I don't know what you do, Robbie.
I love
but
7-card
people
stud.
know that if they want to play with me, the stud have to be there. And if it's either stud 8 or better, high, low, regular. Now, Crystal, what things that I tell everybody is old school people like to consider themselves people with good memory. People with good memory can play and remember cards that come outside and remember which is the most important things in stud. I don't think he'll die among the old school people. I think that he might not even touch some of those young people that we see playing the high roller, but even them that I see those days, starting playing the 50,000 championship games, you know, in World Series of Poker, they definitely learn how to play stud.
Right.
I definitely think I'm better than them on these games. But let me tell you, Crystal, something that is very funny. I'm sitting with people and people all the time talking about memories from the childhood.
Right.
So some people remember themselves when they were 10, 15, 22, and they remember things that happened like yesterday. And when they asked me, I said, God, I don't remember. I decided I know why. You know why? The brain of the human being got enough memory storage.
Right.
I kind of empty it to remember what cards coming outside in the stud. So if you sit with him in a stud session, I can, and you ask me like a 10 hand later about certain hand, I will tell you, he have the king of diamond, he have the jack of club, he have the 5 of heart, and he have the, and why? I don't know. I remember it, and you know why? Because that's make me money. Remember what I eat when I was 22, or where did I go when I was 15? It's not making me money those days.
I love that answer. That's a great answer. And I guess there's still hope because eventually the young players of today will become old school themselves and maybe they'll still be playing 7-card stud as well. One more.
Do you have stud in your game, by the way?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, I'll give this away here. In my home game, when I call 7-card stud, 8, I have to say the whole name because everyone always asks me, which one? Say 7-card stud, 8 or better, high, low. That's what I always say. I said the whole thing.
I love it.
All right. So they started nicknaming it Robbie number 1. They call it's Robbie's game. It doesn't mean I always win in the game, but I like calling the game during our dealer's choice.
Okay, so let's tell your wife right now, this year you're coming to play in World Series of Poker, the 7-card stud, the one that I won. The 2001, the $1,500 one.
Well, maybe one day we'll play each other heads up for the bracelet, Ellie, and then we'll see. And then we'll see. Well, thank you. Our final forum member to submit questions here is Shells. Shells has always been really great over the last many episodes at submitting questions. So thank you very much, Shells. Ellie, do any other members of your family play poker?
Oh. That's a very good question because I've been asked by my doctor that I'm working with him.
Oh.
No, none of them. That's amazing. Sorry. My wife started playing in the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Because we've been going to poker a lot and then she started learning how to play limit hold'em and she loved it. Bellagio mostly have limit hold'em, so she play a small game, 40, 80 or 81. It's not a big game, but it's small and she having so much fun with it. Because let's say when I'm playing, she play her own game and we going to Bellagio together and coming back together. But that's only in the last 4 years. None of my kids have, like the oldest boy, the youngest one, Maya and Ryan, Ryan understand and he see me playing online and I can tell that he can be good player. Maya just starting because she's 19, but she's not playing obviously, but the oldest one never ever took any interest of playing poker or
Interesting.
just nothing. Yeah.
Interesting. Two more here from Shells, and then we wrap it up. It's funny because she asked the question here that I remember asking you before, so I'm going to tweak it a little bit. So the questions that Shell asked here is, if you had a movie made about your life, who would you choose to portray you? Now, when I asked you that question, you told me a while ago that it was going to be Matt Damon. So my question to you then is, who would you want to portray your wife, Hila, in that movie?
Oh my goodness. Did Matt Damon play with Julia Roberts? Nothing come to my mind. Oh, to be, like Mali gameplay. Who played Mali's game?
That was Jessica Chastain.
Oh, she was good. She was good in the movie. Yeah. So
yeah,
that's a good choice. Is someone that knows all the up and downs in poker.
Very nice. I thought you were going to go with Gal Gadot. I really thought that's.
Yeah, she's too pretty to play movies. She need to kill a lot of people on the way.
Right. And our final question for you, Ellie. You have won multiple WSOP bracelets. You've got your WPT championship. You've sat at all the biggest high-stake tables in the world. Is there anything more that you hope to achieve or accomplish in the game of poker?
I want to meet more wonderful people the way I met all over in all these worlds, in all those years in poker. I start playing with a very good friend now. Mark Gregorich introduced me to Martin and Carol Schaefer. So I start playing a little golf with them. I'm very bad, but they love poker too. And people like that is what causing me to enjoy this game so much and want to play it so much. And you know what? Something else. I did it 3 times over 50, 1 time before 50. So now I'm over 60 and I'm taking this stage, guys, that I'm telling you, the stage of Robbie. Robbie, for me, it's not only a translator of my book. Robbie is my marketing man. Every time I need to ask something, if it's about player of somebody in the industry, Robbie is the best guy for me to do it. Sometimes, my English is still, you can hear, I still have the accent and everything, and Robbie helping me so much. So I'm using this stage to let you know, over 60, another bracelet coming. I don't know if it'll be stud, but yes, I love those things. A lot of people said, are you out of your mind? So many good cash game in Bellagio and Bobby's room, in Aria, the old Ivy's room. Why are you playing in the World Series of Poker in Rio? Rio is so shitty. I said, because I don't know, it's inside me. Only people that make it to final tables and have the feeling, the adrenaline that going inside, the idea that you want to beat your opponent, say, yes, I'm going for the 5th one.
I love it. Wonderful. And that's a great note on which to end off. Thank you, everyone, for sending in your questions to Ellie Elezra. And of course, another friendly reminder to everyone in the CardsChat community. We'd love to see you submit your questions for our future podcast guests. There is a dedicated thread for it on the forums. And please be sure to give us a good review on iTunes and spread the word via your social media channels if you'd like the show. And of course, I don't usually do this, but we've got a book here. If you want to learn even more about Ellie's life and poker career, his autobiography is Pulling the Trigger, and you can buy the book on Amazon. Ellie, before we go, anything else you'd like to share?
Well, just telling CardsChat, thank you for having me. And thank you very much for doing it for our industry. Thank you, because poker players love it and we need it.
Good stuff.
Good luck. Good luck.
Ellie, thank you very much. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the CardsChat podcast. I'm Robbie Strazynski. You can follow me on Twitter @CardPlayerLife, and I wish you all a wonderful day.